Hello and welcome back to Trains Up North. In this video we're going to take an in-depth look into semaphore signals. What are they? How do they work? And more to enable you to create a more realistic railway. So what are semaphore signals? Semaphore signals are what we refer to in the railway industry as fixed signals. This means that they're at a permanent location so they can't move around. And yes, it does get a little bit confusing because we do have fixed signals. So these are signals such as distant signal boards that cannot change. So they're always a distant signal that's on. So semaphore signals were originally invented in the 1840s and they're still in use today on the UK rail network, believe it or not. They are getting changed slowly to colour light, however it's a long process. And if you go onto heritage railways, that's pretty much their bread and butter. So the designs have changed slightly over the years, so if you're modelling really early semaphore signals, just do a little bit of research to make sure you get it right. So there are two main types of semaphore signals. These are distant signals and stop signals. I'm going to start with the stop signal. So stop signal tells the driver to stop basically, and that's done when the signal's in the horizontal position and it's referred to the signal as being on. Or it can display a proceed aspect when the signal is either raised or lowered through 45 degrees, referred to as the signal being off. So if you've ever been at a station and seen a little light that lights up saying off, this just lets the train crew and the platform staff know that the signal is off. They're used in places where the guard or the dispatcher at the railway station might not be able to see the main signal. But that's a little bit off topic for today. So danger signal, what do they look like? Well, they're rectangular with a square end, and the side that's facing the driver is red with a white painted band. The rear of the signal is white with a black band. So if you see the rear of the signal, you know you can ignore that. And they are accompanied by a little lamp, and this lamp shines through a little aspect on the signal, and it'll either display a green light or a red light. So the red light is associated with it being on, so at danger. Green light is associated with being off, so proceed. So just note that the lens is actually blue for the green light, and this is due to the light source being yellow. So they would have been lit with paraffin lamps, and now they are lit with electric bulbs. So as we know, blue and yellow mixed together make green. So that's why the lens is actually a blue colour. You might see now that some signals have been replaced with green. I know there's some heritage railways that have done that because they've gone onto LED lights that are more white. The purpose of the lamp is so that the signal can be observed at night and in poor visibility. So when the stop signal is on, it is referred to the signal being at danger, which is why in railway terms we have what we call SPADs, which is a signal passed at danger. So when a train fails to stop at a stop signal and overruns it, for example. So the distant signals are very similar in the way they operate. So they're on when they're horizontal and they're off when they're raised or lowered through 45 degrees. And they are slightly different in the way that they look. So they've got a V cut out at the end, and they're painted yellow with a black marking on them on the front, and white with a black marking again on the rear. So either the lights that they display on these ones are either a yellow colour or a green colour. When a distance signal is on, it's said to be at caution, and that warns the driver that all the associated stop signals may be at danger. So it's not just the next one, it could be the one after it as well. So you might get the distance signal being at caution. The next stop signal might be clear, but the one after it might be at danger. And I will go into that in another video because it is slightly complicated and takes a while for you to get your head around. The lights on the signals, they're always lit, no matter whether it's day or night. So the semaphore signals are normally moved by a lever located in a signal box, although it can be ground frame levers which are located at the side of the track. The ground frames would typically be used in places such as sidings or yards, or at the end of branch lines where the train crew operate it themselves. The levers are attached to cables that in turn move the arm, and in some areas now with modern technology motors can be used to move the signal arm. I'm going to go into depth on this because again it does affect the levers. So I'm going to do a topic all about levers and signal boxes and interlocking. The signals are interlocked, which is basically a means of preventing conflicting moves. So you can't have two stop signals that are facing each other showing off at the same time, which would allow two trains to go in opposite directions on the same track. It's designed so you can't do that. And the way that's designed is by something called interlocking, which, like I said, I'm going to do a specific video on it because it's a topic all on its own. All railway signals are designed to fail safe, so this means that if they break, if they fail, they're designed to stop the trains, or in a distant signal it'd go to caution. For example, the semaphore signals, they contain a balance weight. It helps return the signal to on when the lever is put back into the frame, and also if the cable was to be cut or to break, the signal would return to on, so that you wouldn't have a situation where a signal was stuck in the off position. So signallers in the signal boxes must observe that the signal is displaying the correct aspect. So originally this was done by looking out the window. You could see the signal. At night you'd be able to see the light. But what if it's facing away from you? Well, they came up with a clever idea for that. So what they did, in the back of the lamps, there's a little hole in the rear of the housing, so that the signaller can see the same light source, so the same bulb that's displaying the light to the driver. Again, it's a safety measure. If it was a separate bulb and the one displaying to the driver had failed, the signaller wouldn't know. So that's why we do that. And the light is blocked by what's called a backlight blinder. So this prevents the signaller seeing the little white light when the signal is off. These backlight blinders actually operate at around about 5 degrees. So if you put the signal back to on and it hadn't gone all the way back, so it got stuck at 10 degrees, let's say, then the signaller would know that it wasn't right, even at night. Clever stuff, eh? So semaphore signals are mounted on poles or overhead gantries. They tend to be painted, the poles tend to be painted white, with black bands, and originally they would have been made of wood, but metal soon replaced that. And different areas had different styles of signal poles, and things like the finial on the top of the pole was different depending on what region you're in. So again, just go away and do a little bit of research if you're going to build your own signals, if you want to go down the ultra detail route like I do. So I've said when the signal's off, it's either raised or lowered through 45 degrees. It depends on the area that you're modelling. So if it rises through 45 degrees, it's said to be an upper quadrant signal. And if it lowers through 45 degrees, it's said to be a lower quadrant. So if you're looking at things like the DAPL signals that are motorised, you'll see that some of them say lower quadrant, some say upper quadrant. That's basically what it means. So lower quadrants are normally found on the western region, and the routes that was the former Great Western routes. They can be found as far north as Crewe. If it's still there, I haven't been there for a while to have a look, but it was there a number of years ago, last time I went. The Keighley and Worth Valley Railway as well in Yorkshire, they've got one. I don't know why. Probably because that's what was available when they were doing the signalling of the line, perhaps when it was a heritage line. I will try and find out. The modern rules mean that you shouldn't mix upper and lower quadrants. So in 2023, if you network rail and you've got a lower quadrant signal you want to replace, then you have to replace it with a lower quadrant, or you can replace it with a colour light signal. That's your two options. You won't be able to change it for an upper quadrant. Like I said, heritage lines, they can do what they want to their own rule books, but I'm basing my information on this on the network rail rules. So signals, when you're placing your signals on your layouts, they tend to be on the left hand side in the UK. You can put them on the right hand side for things like sighting reasons. So if you've got a bend, a curve, and the driver won't be able to see the signal if it was on the left, you sometimes put it on the right. And again, to aid in visibility of signals, so sometimes we put a whiteboard just behind the signal just to aid the visibility. It doesn't have to be a whiteboard. Sometimes if the signal's against a wall or a bridge, we'll paint that white, just again so it stands out so the driver can see it properly. You can have multiple signals on the same pole or gantry depending on the track layout. So things like junctions and things like that, it's quite common to find a stop signal and a distance signal on the same pole. And you will see on signal gantries, junctions and things, sometimes the signals are at different heights. Well, what does this mean? Well, if the signals are at the same height, then it means that line speeds are roughly about the same, so within 10 mile an hour of each other. If they're at different heights, the lower signal will be on the slower speed. You do get smaller signals as well, for things like shunting and calling on signals in stations. I'm going to go into that in another video because otherwise this one's going to be too long. And then you get things like the ground discs, again for shunting. Again, I'm not going into that in this video. I'm going to go into that in another video, just because I don't want this to become too long, because it is quite a complex subject. And if I covered everything on signalling, this video would be probably days long rather than 15-20 minutes. So I want to just wrap up now. These are a new type of video for me, so if you liked it, please leave a comment, tick the like button, and share the video. Don't forget to subscribe. If you didn't like the video, put a comment below, give it a thumbs down, let me know. If you don't like them, what's the point of me doing them? So what we'll say is, yeah, like I said, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. And until next time, goodbye.